Hey everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? Welcome to another episode of Epic 7, and this is where I would usually talk about a Christmas unit, but instead we're going to talk about Diene instead, somebody that we had previously already, but I know a lot of you haven't been playing this long, and I'm here to tell you kind of how to build her, whether you should summon for her, what sort of equipment, artifacts, how to farm her materials, everything like that. So to start things off before we get into it, whether or not you should pull, I'm just going to blanket say, in general, for gacha games like this, you usually want to pull for limiteds, you know? Like, even if they're not the best unit currently, it sucks not having a limited unit. And that's just something I think that's safe to do even as free to play, because I would rather get like a worse limited unit than like a better non-limited unit. That's just me personally, but if limited units aren't your jam, if that's not something you care about, then feel free to skip going on with this video. But to start things off with, I would definitely pull for her if you don't have her. I don't think she's like 10 out of 10 right now, but I do think she's usable, and I do think she's in a pretty good spot. And the other thing is, there's always the possibility they give us an exclusive equipment for Diene, especially with their side story or something like that. You never know if they toss in something like that, which would very likely make her very, very, very good. So first off, let's just talk about her skills here. While we spend 10 minutes scrolling through all of our units to try to find Diene, their new sorting system, we found her, is sort of weird. So here's our Diene right now. She's got nothing on. I honestly haven't used her since Tamarin came out. She's got a skill 1, which increases her CR every time she attacks. She's got a skill 2, which does a barrier and also dispels a debuff. And her skill 3 gives attack buff, crit resistance for 3 turns, which is a lot, and increases her combat readiness by 50%. This is on a 4-turn cooldown. This is on a 3-turn cooldown with Molagora, of course. And this is a really great skill set because it allows for cycling between these two abilities. It keeps you protected, keeps you with an offensive attack buff. It keeps you so you get crit less. It keeps you so you have a barrier up. It dispels everything. I really, really, really like her skill set, and it really works well together, especially with her CR boost here. It allows her to cycle as fast as she can. And her skill 1 also helps too. Whenever it's not skill 2, skill 3 for her, she does have a chance to boost her combat readiness up too, and this goes up to 15% with the Molagora if you really want to go that deep on her. So as for Molagora themselves, I don't think you need any in her skill 1, but if you are, I would just go to +2 like I did. It's pretty cheap. I think it's 2 Molagoras. 2 combat readiness might add up. As for her skill 2, you need to go at least to -1 cooldown, but I would honestly recommend going full if you plan on using Diene a lot, because that adds up. That's 20, 30, 40% barrier, which is pretty insane. And her skill 3, you absolutely have to have this maxed. So she is kind of Mola intensive. You will need 3 there and 2 there. So I think that's like 13, 14 Molagora, which honestly isn't too bad. And then probably around 20 if you want to max out her skill 2. So that's what I would do for her skill ups there. She also has an attack % imprint and a health % self imprint here. As for her awakening and materials, she takes fused nerves, and she also takes small sun badges for her catalyst for awakening. She gets, I believe, just health a bunch of times, right? Effect resistance, health, more effect resistance, some speed there, some health, pretty solid. As for where to farm these, the way I do this personally is I go through each stage. I kind of know them in the back of my mind now, but when I was first trying to find these, I would just go to adventure here, and then I realized I wasn't in the side story, hit back because they changed it, and go to this actual world side story, which is right here. Go to adventure, and then I would go to each stage and just hit region info and see what was here, see if anything good dropped here, specifically epic catalyst. And then I'd also check the AP exchange here, especially for the smaller ones. Thankfully, I already know where to get a bunch of these. So as for fused nerves, I'd be farming them in 9-2, because you can buy fused nerves through here. You can get 2 of them right there a week. And also, if you go to 9-8, you can get fused nerves here as well. And you can also get Flame of Souls and Strange Jellies, which are kind of used in a lot of people too. 9-10, I believe, is Sigret, which does drop Heart of Hypocrisy, but it drops Small Sun Badges and Ring of Glories. Both of these you're going to need because you do need Ring of Glory to skill her up, not for her awakening. So this is another opportunity there. But outside of Epic Catalyst, what I generally just do is find some place that has the normal stages through AP Exchange. So I would find Ring of Glory here, and I would buy all 5 of these out, and then I'd find Small Sun Badges, and you'd also check in the new World 2, Scenario 2, whatever they want to call it, and try to buy out as many of these as you can, just because this is just a consistent way to get 5 to 10 a week, depending on where they are. And I would just check every area, just as a heads up, going forward for every other unit when you're trying to decide where to get these farming things. So as for her gear, let's just go look at what I would build her with here. And we're going to go through the equipment manager so I can kind of walk you through this too. We have our Diene here. She's actually pretty flexible and pretty easy to build. You know, she doesn't have she doesn't really have too many choices. It's pretty easy to choose what you're going to do with her, because if we can see here, her skill 2 is based off the target's max health. There's nothing on her skill 3, and there's nothing on her skill 1. So none of her skills really go off of her stats. So you can kind of flexible, you know, you can be flexible and use what you want. So for your boots, you're absolutely going to want speed boots. I really think there's no other option. I would absolutely just try to pick any sort of speed boots. Speed set is also fantastic. I believe she's really fast for a Soul Weaver. 103 is actually pretty fast. So we're just going to put on some random speed boots here, and some substats we want to look for are effect resistance is 1, HP percent is another, and defense are another. Just defensive stats are pretty much all she's going for. So let's just try to find a piece with effect resistance here. We'll just throw these on. We're not going to equip it, but this is a piece where I'd be really happy to put it on. It's got speed, it's got all 3 defensive stats. Something like that would be perfect. And as for the ring, you can honestly go 3 to 4-ish different ways. One of them is HP percent, one of them is defense percent, one of them is effect resistance. Either of those are perfectly fine because, again, her heals don't scale with her HP. So what I would do is just search for your best of those 3. Effect resistance might be one of the better to get, just because everybody else can do better with HP in general. And the other cool thing too is you're pretty much just going for whatever your fastest speed sub would be. So something like this with effect resistance, 8 speed, and some defense is what I'm going for. Attack and crit damage don't really matter, but something like that would be perfect. If we want to do a speed set still, we would go speed set here, speed sub, and we just look for health, something with some speed here, and something with some stats we want. We do want defense a lot, so maybe that would work. We don't need effectiveness whatsoever. It actually does 0 for her. So we'd probably go something like this. I'd put this on here because 10 speed is 10 speed, but it's not 15, so we're just going to do it like this. And same goes with the neck. We have 3-ish choices: HP percent, defense percent, or just anything with a lot of speed subs. So we will go for more HP here and try to go for speed. I don't think I have any good defense with speed subs. Ooh, we do. Okay, so we'll use this one here. This is not the best, as in there's not enough HP. It's not really fast, but 31 ER is pretty solid. And this will give her a boost between HP and defense percent. So those are our main 3 stats. And then from the left side here, we are going for the same as we always do. Speed is priority, HP percent, defense percent, effect resistance, all those stats we need for defense units. I'd also wouldn't mind to get an immunity set on her, because you just kind of like immunity sometimes, you know. I feel like it would be really good on her. So we're just going to throw in some random sets here, just try to get immunity. The other options for a subset are health, like defense, anything defensive, effect resistance, pretty much anything. Or you can go with the broken set, just to go with your fastest speed subs as you possibly can. And again, because she's a slower Soul Weaver, or a faster Soul Weaver but slow in general because she's a Soul Weaver, just the amount of speed you get on your subs is going to make a huge improvement to her speed. So for example, if I was to use my speed set weapon on Maid Chloe, that would be a huge boost to her speed. And then we can try to get an immunity helm here to see which one is my fastest. So something like this. would be a very solid Diene. She's got 62 ER, she's got 14k HP, which isn't really enough, but I think it's okay. 213 speed, 1800 defense. So this is the sort of build I would aim for. Just all of those stats are all you're really looking for here. As for her artifact, she has a bunch of different choices. You can't actually go wrong. One of which being Celestine. I know a lot of people like Celestine because it gives her something to do on those turns where she doesn't have a skill 2 or skill 3 up, so it helps catch her up there. Another option is a Wondrous Potion, just to try to get rid of those pesky stuns or unhealable or anything like that, just in case your skill 2 isn't enough. And another option is going to be Megara's Tome, to make it so she cycles through those turns like no other. Having Megara's Tome on her just allows her to ramp so flipping fast. It's kind of ridiculous. And finally, Rod of Amaryllis is another really great choice just to get that extra healing out. It really depends on where you're using her, and I think those are kind of like the 4 obvious choices to go for. It really just depends where you want to use her and how. So as for where to use our girl Diene here, do I look like her? I think I do. As to use where to use our girl Diene, there's a bunch of options. One is Guild Wars. She's actually fantastic for Guild War offense, and she's okay for Guild War defense. So she's a really great unit there. She's really great. I think a lot of people underuse her. Just having that crit chance buff and or decreased chance to crit buff, the passive healing that goes through, everything about her is just great for Guild Wars. It's also okay for offense as well. She's also great for camping. She camps really well. She likes a lot of people, and she's really great for autoing Hell Raid. She's great for any sort of PvE. She's actually exceptional for it, especially if you don't have somebody like Tamarin to go with it. If you don't have extra healing, like if you don't have Rod of Amaryllis on her or something, you're probably going to want another healer to go with her. But if you do have Rod of Amaryllis, she might heal enough by herself to be able to carry you. And then there's also the future. And that's probably the most important part here, is RTA. I don't know if you can use her for RTA. I'm not sure how limited use, to be honest, because I know we're not going to be able to use Dizzy or anything like that. But I think we're fine using people like Diene, especially with a rerun right now. So I think she's a fantastic skill set for RTA for World Arena, and I think you're going to see her a lot there. She's pretty great to counter different things. She's pretty solid, just all of the buffs she has. She's really good in the long run too, right? Because she does so much over time, and if you let the Diene kind of take control of the game, she's going to be in a fantastic spot for that. And that's about it for now. Honestly, she's just a really solid character all around, and I think she's worth pulling for. Just because I don't use her right now doesn't make her bad or anything like that. I honestly think she's really great. And again, if she's ever blessed with a exclusive equipment, I feel like she's gonna be really good. Because could you imagine adding anything to Light's Judgment? Adding like a dispel, a heal, or anything like that, so she doesn't have to use Celestine, or make it so this debuffs a second debuff instead of just one, or make it so this does something else. I'm not sure what. I think she has a lot of insane options for her exclusive equipment, and if we ever get them for limited units, I think it's gonna suck to not have her. So yeah, I think I covered everything. If I didn't, let me know in the description below. I'm really rambly with these sorts of videos, but I think rambling is important for stuff like this because it helps get all the information out to you and everything I'm thinking. So thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe as always, and I'll talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.